In this session for A2 level German, we will do exercises with conjunctions. So there are three types of conjunctions and we will do exercises with examples for each of them. Conjunctions in German language can be broadly divided into three categories. Here I have only mentioned two because uh, you don't actually need to know the names of all three of them, but the names for two of them are quite easy to remember. For example, coordinating conjunctions, and then the other one is subordinating conjunctions. Then you have conjunctions like dann, danach, then you have deswegen. These are the third type of conjunctions. But let us look at the first type of conjunction. Again, no one is ever going to ask you like what are the types of conjunctions. I mean, you're learning this language to be able to speak and understand, right? So as long as you know what the conjunctions mean and how you can use them, you are good. Let's start. So the first one is coordinating conjunctions. So with these, what is so good about them is that nothing changes. I mean, when I say nothing changes, so the one thing that bothers many people in the German language is that the sentence structure changes, that the verb gets pushed from second position to the last position, or the verb is at the first position, then the subject is at the second position. Okay. The good thing about coordinating conjunctions is that there is no change in the sentence structure, right? So let's look at the examples of coordinating conjunctions. So you have five of these. So the famous ones und, oder, aber, denn, sondern, and, or, but. Then means because or as, not like as good as, but it's something like I'm learning German as I want to go to Germany, right? I'm learning German as I want to get a better salary, right? Or because. Sondern is something like instead. Okay, some people say sondern is but. Yes, sondern, you can use sondern when you want to say but there is a specific word in English, right? Instead or rather, right? Where you say something and then you like normally you negate the first sentence like not a and then you say but b, right? Not a rather b, or not a instead b, right? That's I hope you know the difference between sondern and aber. So if you know the difference between instead, rather, and but, that means you know the difference between sondern and aber. All right. So, uh, I mean, so that nothing changes, but so let's look at so normal sentence structure for a sentence with just one verb is, so the verb will be at the second position, conjugated. Before it, you will have the subject, and you may have or you may not have an object or an adjective, right? For example, ich lese. I can also say ich lese ein Buch, right? I don't need an object. Now, so this sentence structure remains the same. Also, when you, for example, if I happen to write und over here or und, aber, sondern, denn, oder, the sentence structure remains the same, right? What is the sentence structure for a sentence where you have two verbs? The one verb will be, it can be a modal verb in present tense, past tense, or it can be the modal verbs in conjunctive zwei format. I hope you know what that is. And the other verb will be at the last position, infinitive format. This is the normal sentence structure. And you can or you cannot, you may or you may not have the object or the adjective. So wollen is want to, möchten is also want to, but like it's something like I wish, I like to. Müssen is I must, I have to. Können is I can. Dürfen is I am allowed to. Then sollen, you have sollen over here, and then you have sollten over here. They both mean should. They both mean should, but when you speaking in German, you use sollten when you are giving an advice. You know, for example, you should study for the exam. Du solltest für die Prüfung lernen. Okay, but then what is this sollen? Is it's also should, but when you are not giving an advice, right? For example, how can I think? It should rain today. You know, it's very hot. It should rain today, right? So here it's kind of like it's not an advice, right? It's you're just hoping that it rains, right? That's why this is also should, but not kind like an advice. Then I hope you know what Kyonten is and what Kyonten is. So Kyonten is can, Kyonten is could. So it's also can, but like in a very polite way. So if you're asking something like, can you do this? But if you want to be more polite, like, could you please do this? Then you have to use Kyonten. If you're not being polite, you just say Kyonen. Okay, then you have Walton. Walton is nothing but wanted to, right? Muston is like had to, past of. Konten is past of Kyonen. Duften is past of Dürfen. Mochten is past of Präteritum. When I say past, I mean Präteritum. Sollten is Yeah, it's, I mean, so it's the same thing, but here this Zoltan means people will know what you're trying to say. So this Zoltan means like I should, but in like I in past tense. Okay. Then let's look at sentence structure with just one verb, but that verb is like separate. It's a 10-bar verb. That means it has a prefix. So how do you write it? That the prefix gets pushed to the last position, then the other part of the verb without the prefix gets conjugated for the given subject, right? Then what about you have this one like so the in this example you had a verb and you used like one of the modal verb in like present or past tense or in conjugative psi format. It's the same over here as well, but only thing difference is that here you have a 10-bar verb, but again it doesn't matter because you'll be writing the prefix and the verb together and in infinitive form, right? So it doesn't matter. Now, so what I want to say is that over here, right? So if you happen to write these sentences after one of these conjunctions, we'll go through the examples, guys. We have, I believe, 10 examples. We'll go through the examples, but just want to make sure that you understand the theoretical part. So when you write one of these sentences after und, oder, aber, denn, sondern, the sentence structure remains the same. That means it is like this. This is normal sentence structure. What about this one, the subordinating conjunctions? Let's look at some examples. There can be more, you can add more in this list, but the common ones are thus. I mean, these are the ones that you're supposed to know when you are in A2 level. Okay. Thus, while, da, damit, obwohl, während, bis. So thus means that, not like I ate that. It's not like that. That if you want to say I ate that, you will say ich hab das gegessen. But this, I ate that, ich hab das gegessen. That is just one S. But this thus is something like, you say a sentence, then you say that, and then you say another sentence, I want to tell you that the food is really good, so this, that. I hope you get it right. When you are like trying to use that as a conjunction between two sentences, right? Combine two sentences. Then while and da, they both mean because, okay? Then what is the difference between while, da, and then then that we saw before? Uh, it's very difficult to answer this question at right now, but it's very easy to understand with some analogy, right? So most of you, I mean, if you understand, that means you can speak English. So if you can tell me the difference between hence, as a result, there, as a result, and then because, right? So they all mean the same, right? So like not okay as a not because, like hence, as a result, and then you have therefore, right? They all mean the same, right? I mean, more or less the same. You can use them interchangeably, but there will be situations in English like where you cannot use them. Like there are situations where you can only use hence. You should not use as a result, right? So the same logic applies to while, the, and then. You can use them interchangeably, but there will be situations where you should use only then and not use the other ones. You should only use only the and not use the other ones. Okay. How do you know when the situations come? This comes with practice. As if you keep attending these sessions, you will get this. You will know when to use which one. Okay. But and now you can just use them interchangeably. Okay. But when you are using while and the, okay, while and the sentence structure is different. Okay. Then damit means thereby, obwohl means although, während means during, during something, bis means till, okay, till, like till. So what is the sentence structure over here? Just you have to remember is that, just remember this thing, the conjugated verb gets pushed to the last position. If you remember this, that's it. Nothing else you have to remember, right? So normally you have subject, then you have the conjugated verb, and then you have the object, right? Or the adjective. Here what happened is that the verb got, like the verb which was supposed to be here has been pushed to the last position, right? After, like for example, you use thus, while, any of the conjunctions that we just saw, right? What about this, like where you have a verb in infinitive form and like the conjugated verb, like that will be a modal verb. Here what happened is that, this part which was here got pushed to the last position, right? In this sentence, this part which was supposed to be here got pushed to the last position, right? This part which was here got pushed to the last position. That's all you have to remember, right? So conjugated verb, the verb which has been conjugated, gets pushed to the last position. Let's look at this example then. you need to fill out the form and submit the following document. So you'll be using und. So there will be no change in the structure, sentence structure. Let's see how you can say this. So du muss das Formular ausfüllen. Okay, muss is the müssen conjugated for do, and ausfüllen is trennbare verb, but it is infinitive form, so you write them together, right? Then this is in accusative case. I hope you know why that is. So in whenever you are wondering is the object in accusative, dative, genitive, nominative, so nominative, accusative, dative, genitive, remember the object will be in nominative case only with the verb sein, and also sometimes with the verb werden. Okay, apart from these the object will hardly be in nominative case, so this is gone. Are there verbs which require the verb object to be in native case? Yes, but do we use them in daily life? No. Reporters use them. You may find them in books, novels, but not in real life. Okay, real life conversations, I mean. Then you have accusative and dative. I have given you a list of 35 verbs. Okay, if you know them, just check. Is the verb that you are concerned about, is it a part of this list? If no, then go with accusative, right? Ausfüllen is not a part of your dative verbs list. There is a theoretical way to understand like when is something in accusative, dative, genitive, which I have covered in a previous session. Okay, but this is much easier way to go for it. Okay, without knowing the theory. Und, right? So if you notice in this sentence, you have the verb infinitive form, you have the object, the erforderlichen Dokumente. Okay, but where is the subject? I can write du musst das Formular ausfüllen und du musst die erforderlichen Dokumente einreichen, but you don't have to write, just like it's obvious that it is from this. Okay, so I could have written du musst again over here after und, but it's not necessary. Okay, you are using words, but you don't have to. What I want you to remember over here is that adjective endings, we have covered this. So I gave you if you go by tables, you will have to remember 5 different tables, adjective endings. So why it could be en, it could be air, because erforderlich is an adjective, right? So it could be air, it could be m, it could be s, or it could be a, right? How do you know which one this is? Normally you have to remember like 5 different tables for this, but I have given you rules. I have given you just 7 rules with which you can just guess the adjective ending, right? So I told you whenever the first check whether it is dative, genitive, or some plural case, right? Whenever it is like that, you go for en. Documenta is plural, right? So it is en. Other 6 rules, please go through the PDF which I had shared with you. I think I also uploaded the session, live recording of the session on our channel. Please go through it if you have some time. All right. By the way, ausfüllen and einreichen, they both are trennbare verb, right? So if you just happen to use them on their own, so it would be ich fülle das Formular auf. Okay, or ich reiche die Dokumente ein. Of course, erforderlichen Dokumente if you're saying necessary, right? Just checking if you know. So whenever you learn a verb, right? See, if you can just create a mind map. So you have einreichen, right? So you have reichen. If I just interchange the positions of e and I, it will be riechen. What does riechen mean? It means to smell. Es riecht gut. It smells good. Es riecht schlecht. It smells bad. Okay. All right. Next sentence is I am calling them, but they don't pick up. How do you say I am calling? So it's obvious you will have to use anrufen. But they don't pick up. I have requested you to watch your favorite movies, whichever language, but you should watch them again in German, right? Movies that you know by heart. If you watch them without any audio, you know what they're talking about, right? You don't need audio. So you watch them in German. And if you have done this, you must know how to say this, because quite often every movie has this scene where someone says, he's not picking up, she's not picking up, or I am not picking up. Here, like not picking up the phone. So I hope you have watched movies and you can tell me how you say that. Let's look at the answer. So here it is. Ich rufe sie an. Here sie is they. Not they, but them. I hope, okay? So they, right? It's sie in nominative. In accusative is also sie. Only in dative it becomes ihnen. Okay, this is sie. It's not she. Okay, I hope you know that. So ich rufe sie an. Aber sie gehen nicht daran. Okay. Also with aber, right? But you don't. There is no change in the syntax structure. The verb is still at the second position. Okay. This sie does not mean she. It means they. Okay. You can also figure that out from the way the verb has been conjugated. If it meant she, it would have been sie geht. This is how you say, nicht. Das sie gehen nicht daran. Like nicht. The verb is nicht. Daran gehen. Okay, not picking up. If you want some background, why is it like, what is this daran? The verb is actually an apparat gehen. So like you pick up the phone apparatus, but you just say, like, you don't say apparatus, you just say daran. you know so people will know, like, when you say he's not picking up, you know what he's not picking up, right? He's not picking up the phone. All right, next sentence: you must provide the listed documents because the authorities need them for the assessment. Here you will have use because. So if you happen to use then, there will be no change in the syntax structure. But if you use while or the conjugated verb will get pushed to the last position. Okay, if you want to ease your life, use then. Okay, if you want to test your German knowledge, use while and the. Now, just think, how can you say listed, how you can say documents, how can you say authorities? So you should know this, right? The moment you land in Germany, you have to go to the German government office in nearby office, and you know that is called Ausländerbehörde, right? Foreigners office, or like, so. But that office is like authority office, right? So I hope you know. So authorities is Behörden. How will you say assessment? Just think exam, Prüfung. Okay, there can be better words for assessment in German, but you can go with Prüfung. It's fine. So here, just to make your life a little bit difficult, for you here I mean you plural and informal, right? So if it was formal, you could have used Z, capital Z, but informal, so you will use ihr. Then müsst, die. So müsst is, you have ich muss, du musst, es, sie muss, wir müssen, ihr müsst, small s, capital S, müssen. So müsst. Here, ihr müsst die Dokumente vorlegen. So vorlegen is to provide. There are other ways to say provide, but this is the most correct one, accurate one, if you ask me. Okay. Again, this is trennbar, right? Now, how do you say listed? So it's to say listed, it is aufgelistet, but the ending is en, because I told you, right? Whenever it is a document is plural just go with en. Dative go with en. Accusative, plural, genitive go with en. Now, this aufgelistet, just telling you, this is how you create mind map. It comes from the verb auflisten. It's trennbar. It means to list. To list something. Okay, aufgelistet. I am using den for because, then the sentence structure remains the same. Denn die Behörden brauchen sie für die Prüfung. Sie is like, them. Okay, für die Prüfung. Here I'm using the preposition few, and after few, whatever you have, it's accusative, but Prüfung is feminine, and in accusative as well, it remains die. Okay, so when you go from nominative to accusative, the only change that you see is for masculine. Neutrum, feminine, plural remain the same when it comes to articles. Okay, here is the rule that I have listed. So genitive, dative, genitive, plural, adjective ending is en. Just remember this. Next sentence: you need not just a travel health insurance, but also a confirmation of your accommodation. How do you say this? Think. So first of all, you need to know how to say a travel health insurance, right? You should know this word. You will know it when you travel for the first time to Germany, or once you are in Germany, when you invite your parents or anyone, they will need a travel health insurance. Okay, so it's called, how do you say travel? It's Reise. Insurance is Versicherung. Health, you can just say Kranken. Okay, health actually means Gesundheit in German, but this is the word Reise, Kranken, Versicherung, and because it is ending with ung, its article has to be die. Okay. Need, how do you say need? Okay, then you'll be using but. So of course you can go with here. When you say but, you can say aber, but check at the sentence structure, right? You need not just travel health insurance but also a confirmation of your accommodation. So actually in English also you should not use but, you should say rather or instead, right? Because you're negating the first sentence and proving the second sentence to be correct. But you can also use aber, it's still fine, but I think you should use sondern. But whichever one you use, like the sentence structure does not change, right? So now how do you say this? So to need, you can use brauchen, benötigen, whichever. I will go with benötigen because it's a little bit difficult. So du benötigst eine Reisekrankenversicherung, but you want to say not just, so nicht nur, okay? Not is nicht, just is nur. Nicht nur eine Reisekrankenversicherung, sondern auch eine Bestätigung. Okay, again, check. In this, again, when I'm using, I don't use the same subject again, right? So I hope it's obvious that do is also over here. Okay, you don't have to say it. Then what is this one? So this is the obvious. What about this? Eine Bestätigung deiner Unterkunft. This is genitive, guys. Okay, I hope you know that. So with genitive, you use the correct article, whether possessive article, negations article, or definite article, indefinite article, but the ending will be, so if this is masculine or neutrum, then the ending of the article will be es. Okay, if it is feminine or plural, the ending is er. Okay, Unterkunft happens to be feminine, so it is deiner. But actually you say it like deiner, you don't pronounce the r at the end of any word. Okay, next sentence, you can pick it or we will send it via post. I mean, I took this example from so when you apply for visa, right? You can actually go and collect your visa at the, like, after stamping, or they send it to via post, right? This is what they say when you, so you can either pick your passport or you can send it via post. So how do you say you can pick it? To pick something, so, and then you have to say or, so oder. We will, okay, for will you will have to use werden. Then send will be infinitive form. Okay, the werden has to be conjugated for we, but it will be werden itself, so no problem. How do you say via something? So normally you say per. If you want to say we will send it by, I mean, of course they will not send your email like your visa by, let's say if this it happens to be some document which they can send also by email, so they will say via email, so you will say per email. Here it is post, so per post. So Sie können, okay, I think I wrote first of all the visa, then I just replaced it with it. So it should be S over here, But if the sentence was you can pick your visa, then it would have been ihr Visum. Okay, I go with Z, plural, singular, and second person formal, or it can also mean Z can also mean over here plural, but we never know. Okay, depends. So Sie können es selbst abholen. Selbst you don't need to use, but here you just like on your own, like yourselves. Oder wir werden es per Post schicken. Okay, this is obvious. You conjugated werden. This is like it's called as Futur 1, but just think werden you use when you're talking about future. Okay, schicken will be infinitive form. I received visa because no important document was missing. How do you say I received visa? So it is in past format, right? So you can use preteritum or participe zwei. Whenever there is no modal, when there is modal verb, go with preteritum. Like, go with preteritum, but when you are using, there is no modal verb, you don't have to use a modal verb. Go with participe zwei, right? So with participe zwei, you will have to use the helping verb haben or sein, conjugate it for the given subject, then you can have the object and the other verb, like for example receive, whatever receive is, you will use that in participe zwei format. So how do you say this? Ich habe Visum erhalten. Okay, ich habe Visum erhalten, weil kein wichtiges Dokument fehlt. Right? You say saying no document, right? So Negationsartikel, so no, kein wichtiges Dokument fehlt, missing. The word for, so For example, if you want to say I miss you, it will be ich vermisse dich. Okay, that is something else, when you miss a person, or when you are missing, like for example, it's I miss someone, but it's like some, or also but when someone is missing, like you miss someone as an object, and when that someone is missing, for example, you have a meeting and a colleague is not there, so you will use the verb fehlen. Okay, so jemand failed, here the document missing, but like actually no document uh, miss. Again, here what I have done is that I have not so fehlen, but I have used its Präteritum. I could have said kein wichtiges Dokument hat, and whatever I think the participle Y of fehlen is gefehlt. But I have seen people using Präteritum of fehlen. Okay, so you can also say weil kein wichtiges Dokument hat gefehlt. You can also say just failed. Okay, all right. Just remember that the conjugated verb is pushed to the last position because we are using weil. If we had used then it would have been it would have made no difference because the subject would have been here, and if there was an object, then but there is no object, so you don't see it, right? Even if you use then, it would still sound the same. Okay, but if it was like let's say instead of using failed, you would have said hat gefehlt, it would still have been the same because there is no object, right? With the verb fehlen, you normally say like uh, etwas nominative fehlen, right? Something is missing. All right. As my flight got cancelled, I had to postpone my trip. So here you have to say as my, you're giving a reason, right? So you can use weil, da, or then. But I actually have seen whenever you want to say like you give a reason with the help of the English word as, and if you want to say something similar in German, you use da. Okay, I know da also means there. For example, where is the tree? There. Where is the kitchen? There. You point, right? But here da is like kind of like, it's also here it is used as the conjunction. Okay, so as my flight got cancelled, I had to postpone my trip. How do you say this? Da mein Flug gestrichen wurde, da mein Flug gestrichen wurde, like conjunction. So mein Flug wurde gestrichen, right? This is the Präteritum of werden. Gestrichen is participle zwei of cancelled. Musste ich meine Reise verschieben? Okay, here this is the Nebensatz. In Nebensatz, the verb, conjugated verb, comes at the first position. Then you have the subject, right? And then the infinitive verb. So what happens in Nebensatz is that the conjugated verb and the subject get interchanged, right? Normally you have ich musste meine Reise verschieben. Here you just have musste and then ich. I hope that it gets approved. So ich hoffe, dass es genehmigt wird. Okay? So ich hoffe, dass es genehmigt wird. Okay? Here this is just an adjective. Okay, it's not a verb. So approved here is like whenever you want to say it gets, so es wird, whenever you're describing, for example, the tea with the tea is gets cold, so you will say the tea wird kalt. Whenever you are so werden can also be, it is werden has many different ways to use. It can be used in many different ways. One way is when you are talking about future, I will, he will, she will, it will. Also, when you are saying, for example, it gets cold, or something is changing. Uh, for example, here, like this, it is getting approved. It got approved. It gets approved. Okay. If it was instead of it gets, if it was it got approved, then you would have used the Präteritum of werden, that is wurden. Then you would say ich hoffte, like I hoped, ich hoffte, dass es genehmigt wurde. All right. Let's look at this sentence. I have booked my flight tickets so that I arrive on time in Germany. Okay, here I have booked my flight tickets. This is in present tense, right? So you just have to say ich habe blah blah gebucht. What is blah blah? Flight tickets, Flugtickets, my flight tickets, right? So that so I said you can use damit, or you can say so thus. So damit also means there, or sorry, thereby, or so that. It is giving the reason for doing something, right? You booked your flight tickets so that you're giving a reason after that. So let's go with damit. Ich habe meine Flugtickets gebucht. Again, helping verb conjugated. The other one is in participle zwei format. Damit, with damit, the conjugated verb will be at the last position, right? So actually it was an. Like if there was no damit, it would be ich, comma, in Deutschland rechtzeitig. Because you are using damit, the comma goes to the last position, and we just remove the space between the prefix and the other part of the other conjugated part of the separable verb, right? So an comma. Okay, rechtzeitig is on time. Last sentence, guys. Although my German is not that good, I still write 10 to 20 sentences every day. Okay, the sentence is, you think it is difficult to write, but it's very easy. How do you say although? Obwohl. How do you say German? Deutsch. How do you say is? You will have to say ist. Good, so gut. Not that, so you will have to say nicht sehr gut. Right? I still, how do you say I still? Immer noch. Right? Schreibe. Every day, jeden Tag. 10 bis 20. The sentence is Sätze. Okay, it's very easy to write if you think about it, right? Let's look at the answer. So, obwohl mein Deutsch nicht sehr gut ist. Okay, if there was no obwohl, you would have said mein Deutsch ist nicht sehr gut. But because you are using obwohl, you will say obwohl mein Deutsch nicht sehr gut ist. Again, this sentence has no, like after comma you have no conjunction, because but it comes after comma, so you will have it counts like it comes under Nebensatz, so that why the position of the subject and the verb, conjugated verb get interchanged. Okay, so normally it would have been ich schreibe, but now it is schreibe ich still immer noch 10 bis 20 Sätze. How do you say, like okay, I don't say anything like I still write 10 to 20 sentences every day, but I wanted to say I still write 10 to 20 sentences every day in German. So you want to say, whenever you say want to say in any language, right? So in English you will say auf Englisch, in German auf Deutsch, in Spanish auf Spanisch, in French auf Französisch. I hope you get the idea. All right, guys, I hope this exercise was it was, I mean, you still have to do exercises, but I think it just gave you some idea of how you can use the two types of conjunctions. I did not cover dan, like these, like dan, danach, deswegen, daher, darum. But with this, all you have to do is that it's like this, So, for example, then you also have trotzdem, like even though. Not so. Let's not go with trotzdem. But what happens is that if we let's say, if ignore this sentence, right? Ignore this. If you just want to say, therefore, I still write 20 sentences every day, then you will say deswegen, and that's it. Deswegen schreibe ich. Okay. So what happens is when you use one of these, right? Again, the list can go on. What happens is that the position of the verb and the subject and the verb get interchanged. Okay. Deswegen schreibe ich. The same applies to dan, double N, dan, danach, deswegen, daher, darum. The list goes on. We'll cover them maybe in the next session. Thank you very much for listening, guys.